with that, let me introduce our first speaker of the second round of the idea pitch session. Please welcome Mr. Hunter Ziesing. Hunter is going to talk about My Charity of Choice, which is empowering the nonprofit organizations by giving them the right tools. Hunter, do you want to go on?
Hi, everybody. My name is Hunter Ziesing. The real social innovation I want to talk about are the problems facing the nonprofit sector. First of all, a little bit about myself and how I got here and what motivated me. I was a former investment banker. At age 40, I was fat, out of shape. I lost 5 of my close friends to cancer and various diseases, including my father at a young age to cancer. And I decided I needed a little bit of innovation myself. So I left rather abruptly, and I started the Echelon Gran Fondo cycling series, which became one of the largest cancer cycling event and health and wellness series in the country, helping renowned cancer centers raise money and awareness. We became somewhat frustrated in working with the platforms that help nonprofits fundraise, including our donor advised fund, which was attached to our series. So we built our own platform called My Charity of Choice. It's not much dissimilar to what you see out there today with GoFundMe or Indiegogo or CrowdRise, but we only focus on the nonprofit sector. So again, learning firsthand from working with the nonprofits about the problems that they had with competing platforms, we built our own, but we also said that wasn't enough. We recognized a lot of problems in working with the nonprofit sector over a 5-year period. And those problems are very significant in scale. And they're largely driven by the fact that the nonprofit industry was built around Puritan beliefs that 100% of every dollar has to go to the cause and nothing else. And if any of you have seen Ted Pallotta's talk on TED, which I highly recommend you see, or listen to, down at the bottom, we have a belief system that keeps the nonprofits tiny. The question that everybody asks when they donate, what percentage of my money goes to the cause versus overhead? And there's a lot of problems with that ideology, and as Dan goes on to say, first, it promotes the idea that overhead is negative, that is somehow not part of the cause. And second, it compels organizations to go without the tools they really need in order to grow, especially the smaller ones that many of you may support, the underdogs, many of which are doing some amazing things for humanity, and some of the nonprofits that we work with today, from animal shelters to homeless centers to the Salam Cultural Center, who's doing amazing things in Syria right now that we're helping with them for refugees in Syria. So what we're doing, we are leveraging what we learned by working with the charities and our crowdfunding platform and building a new service, a software as a service model. We're a nonprofit donor advised fund and a C Corp. So the C Corp is for profit. And basically we're taking a whole bunch of these services, and I don't have a lot of time to go through them all, but there's so many cool solutions, not enablers, but solutions in technology that we can take using some new really cool technology and embed it right into the charities' websites. And interestingly, 50% of donors go to the nonprofit's website before looking and considering making a donation. 85% go back. What's that mean? How many minutes? Pardon me? 30 seconds. Total 30 seconds? So the conclusion is we help them raise, no, we help them raise and save through our tools, but most importantly, engagement is where we're going with this platform. With me today is Michelle Baumgartner, author of It's About Your Health. We're giving out her books at our booth, creating global fundraising challenges in conjunction with the United Nations, where you can actually use our tools to get healthy yourself, go out and fundraise, and help your nonprofit spread their word through social media. A lot of mobile optimization and some really cool stuff. Pricing, as earlier we heard Brandon speak, it's got to be affordable and it's got to be scalable. So we're partnering with one of the major global transaction processors in the world to keep the cost really low. Monthly subscription service, low processing fee, that will go lower and lower and lower. Our platform encourages you, the donor, to actually pay the processing fees or find other ways to finance it. And lastly, we think it's a huge market. We've identified about 500,000 nonprofits that raise less than 10 million. It's a very underpenetrated market for software services. That's it. Do I get the hook, or do we have a question?
Yeah, we do have time for 2 questions.
I covered everything in 6 minutes. Yes?
How do you, in terms of capacity building for social media for nonprofits, what's the value proposition?
For social media?
Yeah, especially around campaigns, engagement.
Good question. So instead of sending the nonprofit, the question is, how do we impact the nonprofits using their social media? What we do now with Charity of Choice and all the crowdfunding sites is we send you, the donor, out to a third-party service. We're taking APIs, working with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, over 300 social media, ways to engage social media, and we're embedding it right into the charity's website. So when you go to the campaign, you won't go to CrowdRise, you won't go to GoFundMe, you'll go right to the nonprofit site. One more? Thank you, everybody. Oh, we have a booth. We're giving away some books. One of the final things I want to say is we are raising money. We're doing another seed round. But most importantly, and the reason I really wanted to be here today was we are looking for help for people that want to get involved, either in our donor advised fund or the company from an advisement standpoint. So thank you very much.
Next up, we have the co-founder of Kinetic, Mr. Chandan Mishra, who would be talking to us about the work that he's doing in India in trying to create an equivalent of Megan's Law list for people of India. Welcome, Chandan.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Chandan. This is Anirban. Before we talk about Kinetic, let's sort of talk about what's happening in India. India is a growing economy. It's soon join developed countries, become economic superpower. But there's some systemic issues in India, and especially the one which has been on forefront of a lot of people's mind is women's safety, children's safety. And as you can see some of the figures, I mean, big chunk of crimes in India are about, impacting women, especially sexual violence and things like that. And that's where we want to fill the gap between what the government law and order system in India has been providing and what's really needed for a civilized, open society in a country like a country of billion-plus people in India. So this is what one of our offerings is, which is, how many of you know Megan's Law or sex offender list in US? So the same thing which we are trying to implement in India. Basically, you give your address, you should be able to know if there's anybody convicted or facing sexual offense or serious crime around your address. So that's the crux of the offering. And idea is that this will provide people to make important decisions like buying, renting, or just make informed decision about day-to-day life, like where to send children to play and things like that. That's what we are trying to offer. And note that in India, there's nothing like Megan's Law. People are not required to register. People are not required to report to police station and things like that. And the way we are doing this is by basically extracting public data and developing intelligence on people in India and entities in India, finding out where their addresses are, what kind of criminal court cases, if any, they have faced. And as you know, there's no infrastructure of background check in India. There's no social security number. There's no index data. And we are thinking of using our technology, big data technology, to join various public databases in India and combine them to create this intelligence engine. And it's not just we are focused on this particular offering. There are other offerings, and we feel that basically related to, they are all related to comprehensive people search, but we feel that that will have a wider social impact as well. Like, for example, smoothing out all sorts of transactions which you do in day-to-day life, like matrimonial, you're marrying somebody, you want to know, what kind of person you're marrying, or you're renting out an apartment, you're hiring a nanny. These kind of things, basic day-to-day transactions, we are trying to reduce some sort of friction and giving people peace of mind. And the way we are doing it is basically, there are a bunch of other applications, we can talk about that later, but the idea is to use big data, public data technology to solve some of the vexing problems which a country like India needs to be solved. This is our team, 2 of us are here, and thanks, we are open for any questions.
Clearly you're aggregating a lot of data points from a lot of unique sources that maybe by themselves aren't kind of trouncing anyone's privacy or right to privacy, but when you start connecting all of these dots in a private enterprise to, I guess, make all of this public and network it, how are you dealing with the privacy concerns and kind of the mob mentality that might arise with kind of connecting these dots and making it public?
So first of all, we are going to comply with all the local, the on-the-ground privacy regulations and laws. And secondly, we are not dabbling with data which is not public. This is all public information. Just like in US, court records are public, what's ongoing criminal investigations are public. Same way in India, that's what India is getting on that cusp of inflection point where all the data is coming online, and that's where the opportunity is also there to utilize that data. But it's all public there. It's meant to be public. And what we are doing is basically what government has done there is just dump that data. It's like, dumped on the curb. And what we have done is basically organize that data and make it accessible and useful. That's what we are inherently doing. And we do, as we said, we do plan to comply with all the privacy regulations and everything.
Follow-up question?
Sure.
Do you trust the data? That the data is factual that's coming from the government, the source of the data?
Yes, we do. The data which we are collecting is not coming from a third-party source. It's actually coming from government websites. And so we do trust the factual data. We have not heard, we have done few pilots and things like that. We have not heard complaint about data being non-factual. Just like, if you go to, like, for example, our Superior Court of San Francisco court website, you would trust data to be accurate. Same thing. This data, that's the kind of source we are looking at data.
So just to add to you, when we
Just go.
I can speak up. When we present the report, we will actually have linkages back to the original source. So not only the report will tell you that this data came from the Superior Court of New Delhi or something, to give a convenient example. So you will have the traceability for the data, and that alleviates some of your follow-up question concerns.
Second question.
Who is your customer? Who pays for this service? Is this a subscription?
So the Megan's list, that Geo app, we want to keep it, give it for free. People can use it. But as we talked about, we are talking about like a comprehensive people search and entity search, which is so that will be subscription based for people to be used for things like you're going to marry someone, and WTP for people involved in matrimonial affairs in India is just infinite. So that will be not infinite, but you get the idea. So those will be like people doing background search involved in making once in a lifetime kind of, hopefully once in a lifetime decision. So will be our customers. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have our own Rel Levitsa Mori, who's a student currently at Wharton. We all go to class together. Rel has started her company Silver Lining, which is making outerwear with personalized linings. And parts of the profits from her operation will go to support existing art education programs. So please welcome Rel.
I'm terrible with these. So what if what you wore could be as unique as you? What if a child's idea could be the next big design innovation? And what if you could show that it's what's inside that counts? So we create custom outerwear and accessories for men and women with digitally printed custom linings. We work in collaboration with artists and people like you to design really interesting linings for our jackets and accessories. We give 6% of our gross profits to arts education programs to help bring creative curricula back into underfunded public schools. We have a 65% average gross margin after charity, and we believe that it's what's inside that counts. Next. Oops, how do I get rid of that? OK, thanks. All right, so moving forward. So basically, the way that we want to the reason why this is important for us is that arts education is underfunded year over year in the public schools. We really think that this is important not only towards creating a more beautiful place in the world, but towards fostering nonlinear thinking, outside of the box thinking, and a more innovative structure for the next generation. We want to be able to replicate this idea across many cities. So right now we're piloting with a local nonprofit called the Root Division that helps bring arts education into underfunded public schools in the Bay Area. But we hope to be able to partner with artists in other cities and nonprofits in other cities around the world. We've worked with the local artist Kelly Ording to develop our current collection of jacket linings and accessory linings. We have an awesome team that is ready to put this into action. We have over 25 years collective experience in graphic design, branding, marketing, finance, fashion and beauty startups, and the luxury apparel industry. Where we are today, we've raised over $22,000 on Kickstarter and another $10,000 just through word of mouth to fund our first pre-sale collection. We've soft launched our website, silverliningbespoke.com. Please check it out. And we will have our store up and running probably towards the end of spring once we have our first collection fully produced. All of our stuff is made here in the USA. We believe that we have, going after about a 2% market share of the luxury outerwear industry alone, we can capture about $444 million globally. When we add in other product channels like home goods and timepieces and other complementary product accessories, we believe we can go after just about under $1 billion for this brand. Our value proposition is actually on the back end. So what we do in terms of developing our products is we make our jackets in a factory in a batch process, similar to the way that any normal jacket is made, but we don't put the actual linings in. We just make the shells. So what that enables us to do is that when we get a customer who wants to custom print their lining, we can digitally print that to order, install it, and send it out to them in this sort of light customization process. And that allows for actually more inventory rollover, fewer markdowns, et cetera. We hope we can leverage this brand across many different product categories and grow into an extraordinary company. We have a table outside, and I encourage you guys to come, talk to me, ask questions, and check out our website. So thank you very much. Oh, right. Questions? Yes.
Do you do any training of the local community on actually how to do tailoring or manufacturing the product?
So we work with local artisans. So the people that we work with are actually quite skilled, on their own. We have a factory in LA that makes the jackets and a factory in Novato. So there's not necessarily training for that staff. In order to make these garments right now, these people have to have had probably about 10 years of experience. So not yet, but we would love to get there. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
So you're working with established artists to do the designs?
Yes.
Have you thought about working with the kids within the art programs
we
and
have.
getting their designs out there, helping to promote them?
Yeah, we have. With kids, kids have parents, and so I think that part of the issue is that you have to be really careful when you're licensing. When we license, we pay our artists, so we want to make sure that we have transparency. We don't want to just sort of take kids' artwork and use it for our stuff. So I think it's we have talked to some of the arts organizations that we're working with to potentially do that, but we just want to be really tricky with any kind of liability. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of workarounds. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that. I think if we could find someone that we really wanted to spotlight in a certain way, that we would totally go for it. So yeah, it's a great idea. Cool. Yeah.
What does your sort of channels to market, what does that look like? How do you expect to reach most of your customers over time?
Do you have the clicker?
The sort of percentage?
Yeah. So basically, right now it takes a long time to build a brand. So right now we're focusing on developing our brand, our core collection. This is sort of a high-end price point. We want to try to eventually expand our product mix through other channels, similar to the way that the Red campaign did this, and licensing their concept across a lot of different product categories. And then eventually, we hope to offer a diffusion line that is maybe a more affordable price point, a jacket that costs around $200 for a trench coat, and then that we would have to offshore our production in order to do that. So that's sort of our revenue line. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thanks. All right, see you later.
And last but not the least, we have Mr. Sachin Chaudhary, who will be telling us about his startup, Trust Circle, a mental health network for families, caregivers, and healthcare providers.
Okay, so this is Sachin Chaudhary, founder CEO of Trust Circle, a peer-centered mental health network for consumers, caregivers, and mental health care providers. My brother was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1994. It's been 20 years, and my family is struggling with two core problems. One is access to trustworthy community support, which was completely missing because of stigma. Everybody shuts down, nobody talks to each other. And then access to best mental health care providers was a complete maze. We don't know who to access, when to talk to somebody who can give us the right guidance. We were not able to find anyone who were in our shoes. So Trust Circle is a technology-based cloud platform that will solve both these problems. Guess what? These problems were not of my family alone. As per World Health Organization, there are 450 million patients, and imagine for one patient, there are at least 2 family members. So we're talking about 1 billion family members here who are going through the same maze. We're talking about 1.5 billion people on this planet, over 20% of the world's population, who are impacted by mental health issues globally. And to serve them all, there are just over 200,000 psychiatrists. No wonder mental health care is in a state of crisis. We need an alternative solution now. The solution is Trust Circle. Trust Circle brings together peers, caregivers, and mental health care providers all on one platform. A solution that can be accessed anywhere, anytime, on any device, and that has been recognized as an innovation in global mental health by researchers at the World Health Organization and London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. How does the solution work? Peers and caregivers, when log in on Trust Circle, they will be able to find other peers who are in their shoes completely by being completely anonymous, and they will be able to track their health, ask questions to healthcare experts, and can book appointments online. Healthcare providers, on the other hand, can connect to new patients, grow their practice, conduct telepsychiatry sessions, and build their reputation. So it's a win-win proposition for both. Where we are now. We have an awesome group of advisors. For example, we have Dr. Keshavan, who is Chief of Psychiatry, Harvard Medical School. We've got Karis Myrick, who is ex-President NAMI. We've got our customers in India as well as in US, who are ready to pilot our product. We've got our product ready that has been zoomed in by defining core features from inputs from our advisors and our customers, and we're piloting with them next month, and that is within India. So we are going with B2B model first so that we can get into these organizations, and these organizations have the community of peers and caregivers, and from there we'll build community of peers and caregivers once these organizations are on board. Funding. We are still bootstrapped. We have not raised any dollar. We are funded because I'm moonlighting. My co-founder is moonlighting. We are supporting ourselves. We do not need funding for about 6 to 9 months. However, what we need now are the passionate individuals who are really committed to mental health and who see this as an opportunity to make a difference. If you're ready to make a difference, let's talk. Time is now to make an impact for those who really need us and who are not as fortunate as we are. Thank you. Questions?
Congratulations on all of the great progress.
Thank you.
The promise for telehealth, like years ago, decade ago or so, has sort of not really been realized in many ways. And the one place, though, that it has is actually in terms of mental health services or psychological services, et cetera. I see that you have a sort of a telepsych. Can you talk a little bit more about how that interaction happens on your platform and what value you see in terms of your model, also your business model, what value that allows for your providers?
Absolutely. So what we're doing is, as I said, that we are doing B2B model where we are talking to organizations who are ready to implement our product. Now, when these organizations come on board, by default, their physicians or doctors in that organization comes on board. They have an existing pool of patients. So what they do is they talk to them and they say that, well, you come every time all the way to meet me. Now we have a relationship, so why don't you just meet me, because I only have to monitor you, and I do not have to check your blood pressure or anything else. I just have to, just see you and talk and see and observe you. So what the use case that they've given us, especially in the US, is that once we have an existing patient, we really can have the patient on Trust Circle, so they'll recommend them to come on to Trust Circle, just have a simple sign-up, which is free for them. Doctors are already signed up because they're part of the organization, and they can start using the services. So the use case really becomes compelling because the organization has implemented, and the physicians or the psychologist or mental health care provider really has to just leverage the feature that we have. Any other question?
So right now it's existing mental health, people who have an issue and are being treated. So is your vision to eventually have it open so that people who are facing the issues but who don't really know what to do or who are looking for a psychiatrist or a psychologist to help them and their families with that?
Yes. Our version, this initial version is just B2B, but we really want to transition into B2C. That's where the real value of collective wisdom comes in. So I have the prototype. We have a booth outside. I can show you that. And we're really trying to make it as simple as going onto Facebook and signing up. We will have Trust Circle as a cloud-based service where anyone can go in and just give in their name and email address and then can be part of the ecosystem of Trust Circle and then based on the geolocation, you'll be able to find users who are anonymous though, but are willing to share their experience and insights. So exactly, we are planning to go B2C, but not right now, but in future. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.